Hi, I'm Renata Duma, and on behalf of CA for IT, I'd like to welcome you to our seminar on PSC risk, or Personal Service Corporation risk. Our seminar objective is to provide independent contractors, recruiters, staffing agencies, management, and corporate leaders with a solid understanding of the current situation pertaining to the Canada Revenue Agency's position on PSC risk, a very real risk that personally incorporated individuals currently face in Canada. Joining me in this discussion are Andrew Wall, Vice President of Operations at CA for IT. I'm also here with Jonah Laced, Co-founder and Chief Financial Officer of Eagle Professional Resources. On behalf of CA for IT, we hope you derive a significant benefit from today's panel discussion so you can learn just how you can protect yourself against personal service corporation risk. Thanks for watching. So Andrew, Jonah, for people that want to understand what PSB risk is exactly, can you both elaborate on it and on how individuals can protect themselves against this very present risk?
Sure. Well, why don't I kick it off? So personal service business risk or personal service corporation risk is a very big concern these days, where CRA has basically started a campaign to actively target not only the IT profession but a lot of independent contractors and assess to see if they are really truly an independent contractor, or rather a personal service business, which basically means that they wouldn't be eligible for the small business deduction and they wouldn't be eligible to deduct expenses. This is a very significant risk that can be mitigated in a lot of ways. There's 5 areas of concern that they look at when they identify whether you are a personal service corporation, and a lot of it comes down to the amount of control that's exerted over you, the contract that you've got, whether there's risk for profit and loss, and whether you bring ownership of your own tools. And some of this stuff is outdated, some of it is still very relevant. The biggest issues that we see right now are really around conduct and control, and in particular with the survey or questionnaire that's been circulated recently, where they ask a series of what seem like innocent questions, but if those are answered incorrectly, they can put the contractor at a significant risk. Now, mitigating those risks, obviously the best way to do that is to seek someone who's competent about the issue and understands it, can help answer that questionnaire in a way that ensures that you're not putting yourself offside, because it's very easy to not understand the literature or the language surrounding personal service businesses and to answer a question that seems very harmless and innocent, but what you've done is essentially put your foot in your mouth and deemed yourself to be a personal service business. So I'd certainly recommend seeking professional advice to make sure that you've got the adequate protection there.
And if you look at the questionnaire and read some of the questions, the first time I saw it, I thought to myself, those seem like trick questions. And that's coming from somebody that understands the issue, and I could see how answering it one way or another could lead you down a path that you don't want to go down, and it's because you're answering what's seemingly a very innocent question, not necessarily stepping back and taking into account that you're an individual, you're employed by a company. It may be your company, but you're still employed by a company who has a contract with an agency to provide services to the agency's client.
Right.
The end client is not your client, and questions it around, what do you do with the client? You're thinking that's who I'm providing the services to, but that's really the agency, not the agency's client. You don't have a contractual relationship with the agency's client.
Right, so you're actually saying that the IT professional themselves don't have to know everything there is to know about PSB risk, but they need to seek advice. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and I think you pointed out, it's very easy to misunderstand how the relationship exists, because they're focused on their day-to-day operations rather than what the true relationship is. And sometimes it's very easy to misunderstand what that relationship is. And it's important to educate yourself on the things like these questionnaires, but also to educate yourself on how you should be acting as a professional corporation. Right. Professional business.
Absolutely, and as a professional business, it's always best to have good advisors behind you to help you through these things. Don't do it yourself. Don't try and do it on your own if you're looking to mitigate the risk. If you do it on your own, there's the old adage, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And you're not paying for it and you're not getting a lot out of it most of the time.
Right.
And I think it's important to also understand that there's a very significant risk here, because if they audit you, they're going to assess you not just for the current period, they're going to assess you for multiple periods, and then there's also the risk of interest and penalties, which can be significant.
Well, one of the assessments that I saw that had names blacked out of it, so I don't know who it was or where it originated, even went one step further and said, well, the expenses that we're denying in the company were really a shareholder benefit.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then they assessed the individual with a taxable benefit related to expenses that they couldn't deduct in their corporation. So it was truly punitive and double taxation, because you were paying a high rate of tax in the company on expenses you couldn't deduct, and then the high rate of tax individually on a shareholder benefit. So, you know, it's got the potential to even grow beyond just the company if you don't do things right.
Well, to put it in perspective, we've had a client whose risk was $300,000. I mean, so this is a very real risk. What it is maybe it's not a high percentage of people that are being addressed by it, but it's certainly high impact. So, I mean, I think there's been some analogies around the issue of, you know, it's like disability insurance. You know, you're probably not, the likelihood of you having a disability is low, but in the event of one, you want to make sure that you're adequately protected. We've never lost a personal service corporation case ourselves. The majority of cases surrounding PSC are usually won. However, it really is essential that the people have the adequate knowledge to protect themselves. Sometimes there are people who are CAs who are still just not knowledgeable. It's like medicine, you know, you can't be an expert in absolutely every field. So make sure that you ask your CA does he understand the personal service business risk, and can he adequately represent you if there is an audit. Because just because you have a CA doesn't always necessarily mean he's aware of the issues. He may or may not be.
Great. So final word of advice?
Seek advice.
Seek advice. From the right kind of professional.
From a professional who knows and understands the issue, and it's not to go against any of the CAs who don't know the issue. As like I said, there's, you know, the Income Tax Act is massive, and you have to pick your areas of focus.
Right. You don't go to a cardiologist to have a tooth extracted.
You don't go to a podiatrist because you have a chest pain.
Exactly. Perfect. Well, thanks so much, gentlemen, and I'm sure that's going to be very helpful to all your viewers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.